Now, with those easterly winds, we got to be on the lookout for downsloping winds. Those are winds that come out of the Cascades. They speed up, they heat up, and they dry out. Some very wild weather for us here across western Oregon. Not only the severe thunderstorms, but also seeing a lot of hail and lightning. Downright chilly across western Oregon as our temperatures swing well below the average for this time of year. The daytime highs should be in the low to mid 50s for many of us up and down the I-5 corridor. Today, not the case. We're talking about the threat of flash flooding. Freshly burned areas are left with a layer of ash, tree resin, and no vegetation. Do you know what a heat island is? Trees and grass absorb heat and create shade, keeping temperatures cooler. Big cities lack lush vegetation. Buildings and concrete absorb and release heat back into the atmosphere. That makes a cityscape an island of hotter temperatures. So we'll go ahead, zoom in, break them down for you. This is the Cedar Creek fire just to the west of Waldo Lake. Further to the south of Crescent Lake is the Wendigo fire at over 1,000 acres burned. And one of our smaller fires, the Big Swamp fire at 121 acres, but that's not expected to be extinguished until about October 30th. All of those winds are not only strong enough to throw debris about, but it's also going to be able to push some of those waves onshore. So that's the storm surge. So this is just kind of a great way to learn about the water cycle and figure out exactly how our atmosphere works. So again, the water is just the clear sky. You got the clouds, the condensation, and those drops. Hey, look, you're mixing it.
That's
right.
We're just having fun over here.
Some rain showers. So try it at home. Send your photos over to us. We want to see them. Who was actually able to feel it early this morning, trickling its way down through the southern Willamette Valley and as far north as the Portland metro area. At least 5 accidents were reported in Eugene, including a crash on the Beltline and another on 7th Avenue and Washington. We've already seen fire crews working diligently down towards Douglas County. This is a video of the helicopters filling up buckets to what seems to be helping the Potter fire. Go! Here we go. First hurdle. Second, look at her fly through those. Oh my goodness. And I am obviously the loser. Great job. You did fantastic. How does it feel to have beaten me? We have to look up to find better ways of predicting wildfires. Temperatures are way better out here, and it's actually kind of brought out the crowds today. A little bit more activity down here at the Eugene Riverfront Festival than days past, and I think it's all due to the temperatures being that much more comfortable to be able to create a tornado like we're doing right here in our KVAL studio. What is a dust devil and how does it form? Well, it's all due to the ground heating up, and that heating air does rise. When it does so, it creates a very small low pressure system near the surface. You want to be careful of the plastic. It's been baking in the sun all day, so I got a heat gun right here. We're going to test this picnic table, and it's reading 106 degrees, so that is going to be definitely hot to the touch. And just to kind of give a little bit of perspective, I've been kind of reading through some of the Twitter posts that the Eugene Police Department has been discussing. All of this really unfolded right around 9:29 this evening. That's when those first calls started to come in. Whoa! Lightning and wind can start and spread wildfires rapidly over dry brush. This is known as dry lightning. It remains one of the biggest threats to the west as many locations remain under extreme and exceptional drought.
Just Josh Cozart.
A bit of a different view for us here across the Oakway Center at sunrise with that dense fog layer. Of course, it started to lift, mix out, and the return of the sunshine was a welcome sight, which has allowed our temperatures to gradually start to warm up. We're almost at 70 degrees in the Eugene-Springfield area, mid-70s down towards the Umpqua Valley with 60s found along the south coast. As we now take a live look over the southern Willamette Valley, 68 degrees is where we currently stand out at the airport. It's slightly on the breezier side, but that's just kind of helping mix out some of that fog that we saw earlier in the day, with winds out the north at about 17 and the humidity value still slightly on the higher side of things at about 61%. Satellite and radar, though, you can see over the past several hours, specifically for the southern Willamette Valley, that fog layer dissipating, the sunshine returning as we remain rain-free, especially for the Cedar Creek fire. North Josephine County, the Rum Creek fire, which we have seen some improvements, but with a high-pressure system moving overhead, that's going to kind of change our winds, potentially pushing some of that Cedar Creek fire smoke back to the west, and that's why the National Weather Service has an air quality warning in effect lasting all the way through Tuesday afternoon. So if you're sensitive to the poor air quality, keep that in mind. You might want to limit your time spent outside. So we've got 27% containment with the Cedar Creek fire, but good news, the Rum Creek fire now at 100% containment after burning over 21,000 acres, but we've seen over 120,000 acres burned in eastern Lane County with the Cedar Creek fire. And this all comes as we prepare for a bit of a warming trend over the next several days. We could potentially be nearing record-breaking territory for the first day of October for valley locations. Of course, those records are in the low to mid-90s for Eugene and Roseburg, but we'll be flirting with that here for the next several days. With the new month, though, rolling in, that means some new weather normals for us. October is typically our 6th warmest month of the year and typically our 6th wettest month of the year, averaging a little bit more than 3 inches of the wet weather, but our average daytime high temperature with all of the days combined is at about 65 degrees, and we don't typically see snow, at least for the valley locations. Not to say the same, though, for the Cascades. But look at the big difference. On October 1st, our average daytime high in Eugene is 72. By Halloween, 58 degrees is our average daytime high. So a big cooling trend is usually in the works this month as high pressure keeps us on the warm side of things for the start of the new month. And that will be the trend into Sunday with widespread sunshine. And it's going to be stopping any new weather systems from marching its way on shores. Those clear skies will remain here for the next several days. Early morning lows falling back into the 50s. Daytime highs, well, close to 90 degrees, looking a little bit more like the summer season as our temperatures for the Ducks game will slide back into the mid 60s for us. 7-day forecast showing that we stay above the average here for the next several days as the dry skies still remain. Coos Bay maybe picking up on a nice light raindrop or two for the start of the day on Sunday. We dry things out though. It will be breezy over the next week or so with wind gusts nearing about 15 miles per hour, but nearly 90 degrees, not something we typically see even in Roseburg for the start of the month of October. So, Kendall, I know you like this forecast, but we should be seeing the wet weather and the cooler temperatures this time of year.
I'll be honest, Josh, I love the warmth, but I really enjoyed the cool, crisp fall morning today.
Yeah,
it was
it's
great.
Spooky season now.
Yes.
We need to cool down.
Yes, absolutely. All right, thanks so much.
It was a dark orange, ashy sky, almost like it was nighttime. There was so little light coming out of it.
All of us hope to never see smoke-filled skies in our forests.
The air was so smoky, you could barely see in front of you, very hazy and not breathable or safe to breathe.
With hotter and drier summers increasing the fire threat across the West, we have to look up to find better ways of predicting wildfires.
We're really excited about this next generation system that we're currently developing.
We're talking about the data being used to predict wildfires from the GOES satellites. Eric James is one of the scientists trying to better predict these fires.
Basically, the idea is we want to take advantage of our high resolution models, which are predicting the weather around the clock. We want to be able to use the meteorology coming out of the model forecast to predict the kind of conditions that are going to be hitting a wildfire. And that can help us to predict the activity of the wildfire.
These natural disasters impact so many across the Mountain West, but the smoke can go even farther. That's where we asked Travis Knutson of Lane Regional Air Protection Agency why it's important for our health to know when smoke might be moving in.
We're really interested in knowing how smoke moves across not just the Pacific Northwest, but really all of the Northern Hemisphere, because even wildfires that are substantially far away from us can still have a pretty significant impact on our air quality here locally.
We want to use the same approach to be able to predict not just the fire weather that could impact firefighting efforts, but actually to be able to predict the amount of smoke that's going to be emitted from a wildfire. Because obviously tons more smoke is going to be emitted from a really active or explosively growing fire than from a subdued fire.
We can inform the public when changes may need to be made to their day-to-day activities or actions can be taken, all in effort to reduce exposure.
These new models will be able to keep track of where wildfires are and where they're heading, depending on current weather conditions.
So we think, predictions for the coming hours and days could be pretty valuable for firefighters. We plan to implement this in operations in several years' time.
I think that technology is super smart and it will probably save people's lives.
As hotter and drier summers remain on the horizon, so too does newer technology.
We'll actually be able to predict wildfire evolution in the future in a much better way than we were during 2020.
With this new forecasting technology, it might give all of us a little bit better of a chance to exactly understand how wildfires work. Reporting in Eugene, Chief Meteorologist Josh Cozart. Wildfire smoke has become a September staple, scorching Oregon's once green forests. Orange skies and wicked flames becoming common in the past few years. So much so that a swath of the Willamette Forest in Lane County has seen nearly 290,000 acres burned since 2020. The Holiday Farm Fire burned over 173,000 acres. Of course, this year, the Cedar Creek Fire burning over 85,000 acres as it continues to move. And it's not just Oregon seeing the increased fire activity. All of the states with red and orange dots is where a fire is currently burning. Changes in our wind direction last Friday helped to block out our skies and drop the air quality. The return of wet weather is our best chance at putting an end to this year's fire season. Unfortunately, we're only expecting cooler temperatures, which will help this week. Reporting in studio, Chief Meteorologist Josh Cozart. We're ready for the return of rain. That will, of course, help reduce the wildfire threat across our state. But too much of a good thing can become hazardous, especially over our new burn scar areas. We're talking about the threat of flash flooding. Freshly burned areas are left with a layer of ash, tree resin, and no vegetation. This is known as hydrophobic soil, causing water to run off, and it could cause rapid flooding. In addition to that, hillsides help to funnel the water into one location, increasing the flooding potential, especially as those fall rains return to the Pacific Northwest. Reporting in studio, Chief Meteorologist Josh Cozart.